Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shamika Leacock with the James Beard Foundation. I serve as the Associate Director of the JBF Institute here, and really happy and proud to bring you this month's Queer Year webinar called Latinx Chefs. Just to give you some information about this Queer Year series, we hold 6 webinars featuring different themes and topics around the queer community and those who are in the culinary and hospitality industry. This is a collaboration with the Queer Food Foundation. We work on many projects together, this being the second for this year under Queer Year, but we also collaborated on another series called Equity and Hospitality. A slight plug for you to check that information on both of our websites, queerfoodfoundation.org and the James Beard .org websites. I am going to introduce you to Vanessa Parrish, who will kick things off before our panel begins. Vanessa serves as a pastry chef, among many other things, and also serves as the co-founder and executive director of the Queer Food Foundation. So thanks again for being here. This is being recorded, and you can watch our recordings both on the Queer Food Foundation and James Beard websites. Kicking it over to you, Vanessa.
Thanks, Shamika. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. This is our 4th year working with the James Beard Foundation and this collaboration. So that is over 20 panels that we have done in celebration and highlighting queer folks in food. So I definitely encourage you, after watching this one, watch this one again, follow the people, and then go and see the other conversations that we've had. We have a lot more coming this year that I'm really excited about. For those that don't know Queer Food Foundation, our organization is focused on funding, feeding, uplifting, and educating queer folks in food spaces, for beekeepers, bartenders, chefs, your hostesses. Everyone that's in food is involved in our ecosystem of the food industry and deserves to be supported. So anything we can do to support you, please find us on our website, reach out for collaborations, sign up for our directory, follow us online. We try to do as many engaging activities and things as possible around the country. So today is our Queer Latinx Chef series. Mario is one of my most esteemed advisors at QFF, and I am so glad to have him leading this conversation with some really amazing folks. So Mario, I'm going to leave it over to you, and I hope y'all enjoy this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vanessa. Hi, everyone. I am Mario Monte, advisory board member for QFF, and I am very excited to welcome you to another Queer Year panel. While Pride Month is important, we know queer food people are showing up, cooking, and thriving all year long. So through this series, we're spotlighting the conversations that matter to our community, the good, the bad, and the hopeful. So through this series, we're spotlighting within this hopeful, hopefully be able to elaborate a little bit more on the Latinx experience within the food spectrum. I would like to thank these 2 organizations that are doing an amazing work to make today possible through the conversation and the belief of power of food to create community and changing culture that are truly helping. Today's theme is super special and personal to me. We're diving into this intersectionality within Latinx and food. We have 3 absolute rock stars joining us today. Chef Silvana Salcido Esparza, a culinary icon and activist known for her work preserving Mexican cuisine and using her platform to champion marginalized communities. Chef Luna Contreras, the creative force behind Chelo in Portland. Her vegetable-forward dishes and bold leadership earned her Chef of the Year by Eater Portland. And Pri Aguilr, a Peruvian-American culinary artist whose project Nueva Yolk honors the flavors of the Latin American diaspora through ice cream and nostalgic comfort food. Rather than me trying to sum up all the richness of each of your journeys, I'd love for each of you to introduce yourselves in your own words. Please let us know where in the world we're finding you today and what is catching your eye this week.
Should I start first?
Sure.
Hi, my name is Pri. Born and raised in New York. I come from a melting pot full of all cultures. And I came to cooking right after coming from a theater background and finding art in food, and very much with open eyes going into this world. And during the pandemic, really finding my queer community and my voice through food.
Amazing. And you're joining us from New York?
Oh, right. I actually just moved to Jersey.
Oh,
But
sweet.
yes, yes. So,
And an interesting or something that's catching your eye this week?
actually, I just made a transition to front of house. I'm taking a little break with freelancing. Well, I'm having work alongside freelancing that is giving me more stability. And I've noticed that I'm now currently working in this new restaurant called Maison Passerelle that just opened on Wall Street by Chef Gregor Gourdet, who just came back, who just moved back from Portland to New York. So I'm sure, Luna, you've heard of Khan out there. Um, yeah, I love this whole environment, a place that I'm new to because I never really was interested in fine dining as a young chef, as a young cook, because I always felt that fine dining was a space that was rigid, that was not safe for queer people, and just a space that I wasn't interested in. But learning about Gregor Gourdet and him being a queer chef, I was very interested in working alongside him and seeing how his food um, is taken in by the people who are eating it.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Who would like to go next?
Yes, I can go next. Hi, my name is Luna Contreras. I'm the chef owner of here at Chelo and also our bottle shop, Almacén de Amita. And I emigrated here from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. So I guess that's what led me to cooking, because she was, I named the restaurant after her. That's her nickname. She was probably the only one in my family that saw me kind of for who I was. I think at those times, growing up, like being 8 years old, I didn't really know what being queer, what being a trans person was, especially like as a trans woman now. And yeah, like Pri said, I think that the pandemic definitely was an eye-opening kind of revelation in many ways for queer folks, and also for myself to just finally begin the process of HRT and begin cooking and when starting pop-ups and then making Chelo kind of like its own little permanent situation. But it hasn't been easy. It has been a difficult career working in higher end restaurants in the Bay Area, and worked for some good chefs. But yeah, it was always a little difficult to be out and about, I think, even in the Bay Area. But Portland's been super supportive. We have a really amazing queer community here. And I've just been really grateful that I can operate this restaurant as myself. And especially just with what's happening right now. It's and just kind of like keeping, like the team safe, and also just being yourself and projecting yourself as a good person, it's like, like, I don't know. But yeah, I guess the thing to look forward to is all the spring vegetables. I love vegetables, so just working again with farms, with queer-owned farms, and finally opening up. Been working hard at getting this bottle shop open, and we're opening it up this Friday. So that's one thing to look forward to for myself, I guess. So yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing, Luna. And Silvana?
My name is Silvana Salcido Esparza. I am currently residing in the sacred land of the Kumeyaay in Baja California, Mexico. My career, however, was in the sacred land of the Pimentono Oro, Phoenix, Arizona, where I owned and operated Barrio Cafe, an iconic restaurant in Phoenix, which I closed because without me, there's no Barrio. And it's not about capitalism, it's about the preservation of our culture and the honoring of our ancestral roots. And what's catching my attention, not just this week, but just heavily, is the growth of Mexican food at a worldwide perspective. And being in Arizona and then coming back over here, I was over there for a month. And then focusing on the tourism that's happening in Baja California with food, it just surges a cultural pride, and it kind of signals to me that I've been doing the right thing for almost 30 years of trying to elevate the erroneous perceptions that people have about Mexican food and the culture.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Silvana. So I guess this is where we start off our actual conversation. Thank you for your introductions, and it was really great to get to know a little bit more about each one of you, especially a little bit deeper from your bios and what I was able to kind of look you up online. But I kind of wanted to just have very themed questions, and I want to kick off sort of challenges, as I guess where I want to start off the conversation. So my first question is, what has been the biggest challenge that you've faced as a queer Latinx food professional, and how did you overcome
it? Anybody?
Sure. Whoever wants to start.
Well, it's, if that's obvious, I'll point it out. And what I'm seeing or what I'm hearing is that what I had to go through in the 90s, 2000s, and then some, still happening, right? As a woman, a lesbian, open, I'm in culinary school in the mid-90s, and there was a woman that cried in the kitchen. And when she walked away, I said, "You guys are cruel." Thank you, my tip. Oh, that's my wife. But you guys are cruel. Why did you make her cry? And why do you not pick on me? And they said, "You're a lesbian. You're butch. You can handle it. We could tell you jokes, and that to this day is still the way it is. So as a woman, as a lesbian, I actually have been accepted. I've had the privilege of having the guys in the kitchen say, "Oh, she's like almost like one of us, hardy har har," right? The truth is that I'm still a woman. I'm still very much, what does my sexuality have to do with my ability? So I believe that still goes on. But I overcame it. You want to know how?
Yes, please.
My jefa is say, "Yo mando." That's the end of that.
I love that. That's such rock star energy.
Yes.
I will, Luna?
Oh, I guess maneuvering, even in kind of this bubble that is Portland is, I feel like I've been blessed in that sense, but it's still outside of Portland within, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. It's very, it's very white. And not that that's anything wrong with that, but but you definitely see a difference in people and in how you feel safe. And even even right now with what's happening, I feel it affects everything, I think. Not like doubts, but about just how to continue operating this I guess trans queer owned business, and navigating onward, and keeping the team safe is super important. There's a lot of queer folks, non-binary folks, straight folks, lots of immigrants that have come here and do feel safe here, I believe, and that's, I think, the most important thing to me. And it didn't, I think, and Vanessa and Silvana said this spot on about how things are still happening like that. So it's just a big task to I guess stay level-headed, calm, confident of your abilities, not just as an individual, but because you have to cook. And I feel that with all the difficulties that surround us, and they've been there the whole time. This whole ICE situation has been there. The negativity, yes, towards food that is not Italian or French, and Mexican food, the just the burrito aspect, that whole, and it's changing, I feel. It has been changing for quite some time, and I think people still have difficulties seeing the perception that it's just a very vast regional form of cookery, very ancestral, very about much gathering. So I think it's just always been about upholding that. I think that working with farms, being very vegetable forward, and being here in the Pacific Northwest is giving me a huge, I think, advantage in just my confidence to continue cooking. But it's just a multifaceted situation now. There's so many layers now, and sometimes it's overwhelming. But I think being proud is very important right now. That's how I've been trying to overcome this. Just staying proud of who I am, what's led me here through all the backlash, all the misgendering, all the racist comments in kitchens and French kitchens. But yeah, I guess that's it. Sorry, I babbled. But yeah, it's
No, thank you so much for sharing, Luna. And Bree?
I think that my experience has been pretty unique because I really focused on following female chefs, um, and throughout my journey, a big part of it was during the pandemic, so I really was able to bounce off to other queer chefs that were going on their journey through food and helping me with mine, and also figuring out my place with the food that I make. And it's I think what I've dealt with the most is in kitchen spaces was being misgendered, and also because of my size, being thinking that I am incapable of doing certain things, or being able to perform the same in a kitchen full. If a couple of kitchens I work with, there are a lot of men, and just being poked at and made fun of, or just kind of like that old school bullying that most of us most likely gone through. Yeah. But I overcame it by being myself too, because I'm also a jefe, and I push it through. No one messes with me, and I always can get my word through, my word out.
Awesome, thank you. I think the word that I just wrote on my notes a lot was just jefas, so congratulations. I guess so. Out of these answers and sort of everything that you're sharing with us, I think activism would be a good segue to kind of bring in, I think, a little bit of how do we treat food when it comes to activism, because it's very tied to our culture. So my question is, how do you view food as a tool for activism, resistance, or visibility? And if you do, can you share any of those, or is there a recipe, or is there a specific ingredient, or is there something that you do that ties that back, that gives you the strength to, oversee or overcome any of those challenges?
Well, that's a loaded question.
Well, I mean, take what resonates. I think,
Yeah.
maybe we take it in two parts, but, how do you treat food as activism?
Well, first of all, as a marginalized person of color,
Mhm.
going into the Escoffier world, I'm already behind the 8 ball. And then I'm going to carry my Mexican stuff with me and try to bring it into a world class. Like, no, 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 no. We deserve to be recognized. And, Mexican food, I don't think I need to tell anybody here, but it's the most appropriated food, the most disrespected at a world level. When people say, let's get dressed up and eat French food, it's short of the tuxedo and the gown. Whereas Mexican food is, let's put on our sweats so we can have, extra, some of that cheese goop they put on there. And none of it has to do with our cultura, our heritage, nuestras abuelas, Mesoamerica, none of it. So for me, the politics of food have always been there. From the first seed in the crops, nuestra gente, the way they're treated, the way they're marginalized, they're used as a tool for political gain, to all the way to washing your dishes. Who's washing your dishes if not my people? Who's taking the glory and the commodity, the money, if not white privilege? So those things in the conversation of food and culture have to be addressed, in my opinion. So there's always been politics of food. There always will be politics of food. And do I love it? No, I hate it. I just want to go, look, this is our queso fundido con los quesos de Mexico, and show you all the pretty stuff. But I can't show you the pretty stuff without having to recognize the ugly stuff. Machismo. We work in kitchens, we work in mostly kitchens that are driven by machismo. And, the comments. And so I think the tougher the struggle, the greater the gain. But why should something as beautiful as food be a struggle? And that's why many of us carve out our own little spaces, un nicho sagrado, right? Where we can elaborate the food that we want to elaborate without the pressures of that hierarchy. So that, I have a long history with politics and food, and I consider myself a cultural warrior, una defensora de nuestra cultura, una protegera del nopal, that's our nopal. Stop commodifying it and give us our due respect as a queer person as well. I always wonder that, gay men are not normally allowed in the kitchen, much less someone who's trans, because of the machismo and the hierarchy. When I think about Broadway and who ran Broadway and during HIV and how we were missing a lot of the stars that ran Broadway got boring. If we, as a society of culinarians, were allowed our queer brothers and sisters to come into our kitchens, we would have better food, just like Broadway is better because of our queer community. I promise you, it would be higher towers, prettier platings, and a value and a taste, par none. But because of homophobia, they're in the front serving. So this is an all-day conversation, everyday conversation. When we talk about queer all day, this is queer all day. We carry it when we work in their kitchens.
That's very true. And I think we can all attest to having lived a lot of that experience and felt what it feels like to be in those rooms with those themes. So thank you for sharing that. And that's very, very telling and true. Luna or Pri?
Yeah. So for me, half of my career in hospitality, in food, I found myself really like never leaving like the kitchen space. I worked long hours. I woke up, went to work, came back. And it wasn't until the pandemic where I realized that I needed I needed this time to really look within myself and search for how does food matter with me and with everyone around. I just don't want to cook food to cook food. It was just in my discovery of what it is that I was searching for within food, and growing up in Brooklyn, I had in the beginning of the pandemic, still have a childhood friend that owns this coffee shop called Playground Coffee Shop that she basically saved from her father's hardware store that was closing down. Home Depot opened, and all these big businesses were showing up, and all these small businesses starting to run down. And my friend wanted to preserve that space because this particular hardware store is in Bed-Stuy, and Bed-Stuy is a historically Black neighborhood. And with all the gentrification, it started, you started to see people moving out and no safe space for Black and brown people. So during that time, and me having this free time, started seeing community fridges going around. And I thought that was my chance to collaborate with my friend, with the skills that I have, especially, seeing all the injustices with the marginalized communities and their need for food. So teaming up with my friend to create community fridge and like finding ways to have access to food and create big barbecues with sliding scale or free, like no one will be turned down for food. But that was my first taste in like activism and doing something for the people. And that gave me so much joy, to be able to have purpose with making food and making sure others are fed, because food is a right for everyone. Everyone deserves healthy, good food.
Yes. Thank you for sharing, Pri. Luna.
It's very personal, and you can get really amped up with just hearing all the things. And yeah, I think food is very personal. I mean, as I mentioned, like, I think the pandemic finally, like, embracing my identity and who I am. I think that we're all kind of courageous to be queer in food, in many ways, especially, as a person of color. It takes a lot of guts and, discipline, I think, in ways to continue onward, being outspoken, but doing it in the right ways that can, to maximize that, not the jobs, but just trying to educate others, ignorant folks. And I was, as a trans person, as a queer person, navigating identity and utilizing activism in food has definitely grown more, as the business has grown more. And I was lucky to be a part of this Netflix show a couple of years ago. And what came from that was kids, like non-binary kiddos and trans kids, queer kids that would message me, or send emails, that they felt seen. So I think it's always super important to always be seen, be just a positive force. So that's kind of where I'm at. Playing, like, having kids will come in here, so it makes them like, like something to eat. And it's always, it means a lot when they're here, because I can see a lot of myself and them, growing up, feeling kind of vulnerable, scared, not knowing what's happening. All these questions, that you ask, as a kid, as like being, am I gay? And then going down, being all the bullying that you went through, a childhood. And I think it always goes back to that, like seeing all the negativity, but just trying to turn those into positives now. And yeah, I'm lucky that I have this outlet that I have this space that working long hours, but it's a safe space. It makes me feel super safe, and then there's so much purpose. There's so much to I think to do, a lot of, I don't know, so much has happened in the last few years that have made my head just kind of like blow. But it'd be like, okay, Luna, now tienes una razón para vivir. I have like a purpose to live and to continue just telling the stories that I grew up with my grandmother. I think it always goes back to that, all that nostalgia of my grandmother just being, super humilde, like super humble, being by herself, like, making comida corrida, and going to the centros, buying everything, getting in the bus, and her taking me, and I think she taught me a lot of just being independent and always being proud. But coming to America and being detached from my grandparents, and finally like coming together with my father, who obviously doesn't see me for who I am. But that's okay, like that's fine. I think we all grow past those things. But yeah, I think there's so much activism that's tied to food, and more than ever, it feels like it's more important than ever. And it always feels like that, but it's always been like that, I feel, especially in your career, Silvana, just this beautiful career that you've had. And as I grow, I feel like, oh my God, now it's the time to do this. But I guess it's true, it's always been there. And yeah, the perception of food is just like, no chingues, no mames. We're doing beautiful food here that is just driven by passion and emotion and feelings and our experiences as queer people. And now it's just like, it's not just about being a trans person, it's about being also just gay, but also like a trans woman, but also a Mexican, and then just being like, no, our food is very important, and stop, like, yeah, like the sweats thing. Don't do that shit. Like take it seriously. There's so much behind our food, and yeah, the people that do come out and see it do appreciate it, but there's a large majority that do not. But the battle continues.
Hasta la victoria.
Yeah, see.
No, and this is all very true because I can sort of attest in my first business, our biggest struggle was having our identity be understood to a certain price point, which I think Silvana really hit the nail on the head when we're talking about activism and how labor intensive some of these really special dishes that connect us are. At the end of the day, it's just a lack of education and a lack of exposure. And at the end of the day, food brought us here together. So as a follow-up question to the two-part activism, if you could maybe do or describe each one of you, which dish do you think you find to be nearest to your heart if you have the opportunity to serve this, and if you could embody all of these layers into a person and you had to serve this to be able to I guess try to make an effective change, what dish would you choose, and just describe it for us?
I think one dish for me, well, I'll plug in my Nueva Yolk, my ice cream brand. I'm completely obsessed with ice cream sandwiches and looking for a niche. I like the idea of having one product and working with it, and realizing that not getting enough variety in, like, in our communities of Latin influenced ice creams, like sandwiches. I haven't seen any of them, and I feel like it's such a market that really describes. And I feel like, especially like my favorite is my lucuma sandwich with this super rich dark cacao with pink peppercorn and all these warm spices. And I feel like it just tells a whole story of where I'm from, but like the surrounding countries that reflect like this one flavor, this fruit, and the nostalgia it can bring, and just like the representation. I feel like I'm so proud to show that and to bring it to people, because it just warms my heart, it brightens my spirit, um it gives a taste of telling people who I am and what is me in a dessert.
I totally want to try that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll bring it around my ice cream sandwiches.
Yes. Like to go next.
I think that one of the things that I think like ceviches or cocteles, especially like, like shrimp cocktails or I think those, I always like doing those. I think a lot of the food that I think that we do here at Chelo is still grounded in simplicity. And just let, like the ingredients kind of dictate. But just from like it always goes back to my grandmother. But like those trips to the centros in Guadalajara, like going into like those getting the siete mares, all like the big bowls of shrimp, that's like one of the things I remember the most. So it's always like, and it's like it was the time to put it back on the menu and refreshen it a little bit. Especially with the bottle snack shop. Because it's just more seafood focused. I'm like, okay, all these little things that I ate as a kid are like coming back, and it makes me feel really alive. And just that, and yeah, like some of the baked goods. There was across the street from my grandma's little restaurant was like one of those like the grocery stores. They have all the candies, all the sweet and sour bites that a lot of folks don't understand. But we just gravitate to the salt, the spice, the acid. It's just something that I think we grow up with, and you can't like let it go. So it gets applied to food, and yeah, that's one of the things is to push on in that little snack shop. It's all that nostalgia. It's just like that continues. I don't know, momentum, I suppose. And I guess that's just what it is. Just the simplicity, I guess. I don't know. And ceviches.
No, I totally get it, because Mexican seafood, especially with cocteles, just how you described it, they really are a whole vibe. They're very warm and delicious. And the cool thing about it, and my husband's Mexican, so he loves the customization of it. And I know that that's something that's part of the experience. So you make it your own. Thank you for sharing. Silvana.
Well, for me, it's mole. Probably for the last decade, I've been focusing on mole. I had a restaurant where it was a 7-course meal of mole, including dessert. When you think of professional culinary, you think of the 5 mother sauces. Those mother sauces are colonial thinking. They have nothing to do with the ancestral sauces that our ancestors in Mesoamerica came up with. It has nothing to do with curry. I mean, Asia, it goes on, right? So I take it back to our roots, to mole. And also, I have to acknowledge that the national dish of Mexico is el mole poblano, which is a colonial version of the ancestral mole. So for me, it's going back to the origin of the ingredient, that what makes mole and how regional it is and how elaborate and how full of history of our culture it carries within its essence. So mole all the way.
Thank you. Mole is very delicious, and I totally agree, because once you get into mole, you understand the world of mole and how different kinds of moles and the colors too. So I definitely appreciate that. It's a very delicious way to have activism in our lives and to share and to educate, because it's true. I think the overlying tie from all the dishes and what you guys have spoken about comes from, we always go back to our memories of comfort and how we were comforted growing up. Because at the end of the day, I think part of the Latinx experience feels like that's how we connect. That's what family is. That's what ties us together. And that's why we get together. So it's a beautiful thing to see that each of you in your own way choose to use activism and food, but through comfort, which is beautiful. I guess to switch a little bit of current events that we've sort of talked a little bit about, Luna's brought up, Silvana, and so has Pri. So with rising food costs, gentrification, economic uncertainty, small food businesses, especially those led by queer, BIPOC entrepreneurs, are really feeling it right now. What challenges individually are you facing within your own business, or that you've brought up, or that you've had experience that you're facing right now and keeping your work sustainable? What is keeping your work sustainable, basically? And what kind of supports do you wish existed for queer Latinx food makers? So think about, if it didn't exist, what would you have liked? What supports, what groups, anything that you could share that even if it doesn't exist now, could definitely spark an idea within this conversation?
I think one, oh, sorry, go ahead, Silvana.
Representation. Lack of representation has been, we are those who represent. You know, I know when I came out, I didn't come out in the business. I came out way before that. And when I was looking to get into this field, I was looking for chefs Mexicanos, and all I saw was Rick Bayless, Diana Kennedy when it came to writing books. Lack of representation. Queer? Donde, cuando? You know, you could guess, you can make a, you know, but the truth is, it's lack of representation, and that's what we need more of. And that starts fundamentally by knowing that we are safe and that we have the support. So, for example, James Beard Foundation doing this today is not the James Beard Foundation of the hierarchy and white supremacy of the old. So that's a major change, especially with today's political field where DEI, and whether we like it or not, we are considered DEI. Like it's a novelty what we're doing, you know, it's a novelty to be queer. Your grandmothers were queer, but they didn't have the ability to do what they really wanted to do. So they found ways to survive. And we're done finding ways to survive in the kitchens of the industry. That's why we're creating our own businesses. We're done being in the shadows. We have to come out. And for that, we need support and know that we are safe.
100%.
I think one thing right now I'm currently dealing with, especially moving to Jersey and especially having such a micro business with ice cream and being seasonal, I mean, the cost of the ingredient itself being that the ingredients that I use, I mean, like the main ingredient is imported. And now that the tariffs are happening and just the prices of everything, I don't know if it will be sustainable, or if this is something that I maybe will take to Peru in my future, because my background is Peruvian and that's where my family's from. But I think that what I would love to see, especially knowing so many queer chefs with, you know, small businesses or entrepreneurs, freelancers, to have like a kitchen space like that we can all use, that is affordable, or like that we can expand and not have to like struggle or feel like we're in one space or at one level and not like growing in the ways that we want to. I would love to see a kitchen space where it is time like donated to queer marginalized folks to you know put and add to their business, make their business grow.
I love that idea.
I think, yeah, the rights and cost of products, obviously seeing avocados go to almost $100 or 48, for like, it has been an adjustment. And also the higher wages, so trying to make it sustainable and make it approachable in a way, but also sticking, I guess, to the original mindset. And elevating and trying to maneuver the pricing. Is this too high? Will people pay it? And like for instance, there's an Argentine steakhouse here in Portland, called Ox. They're very successful. Obviously they can put on like a steak for maybe $100, but I feel that I need to probably price it around in the mid 60s. So that's where I have to price it at. And then make it a multifaceted dish, which will include, tortillas, maybe some veg, a couple more components than just a la carte steak. In a way, I think, and people are purchasing these things, but it is, I have to play with those numbers, I feel, to make the business sustainable, because I feel that if I go into, this is Chelo, we're in Portland, not Pujol, but trying to cost things has been a struggle, and trying to pay folks a living wage, and to support them. That was one of the reasons to open this like little bottle shop, to offer to support the team more, and also to make sure that the business can continue onward, to test it out and see how we can proceed as a small, immigrant owned business. But it's been positive. The last 3 months since we opened here have been good. I think that it has been important, to come out of the shadows. That was very spot on, and then the support, I think, is there. It's just we have to be courageous and get out there. And then people notice this. Like, we have to create a fuzz, to move onward, and then hopefully people's perception continues to grow. There's not a lot of higher end is what we're seen as. Higher end restaurants here that are Mexican here in Portland. I mean, you have a few like República, Comedor Lidia, and we're trying to play with, more ancestral ingredients, that approach of keeping things simple, but and just rooted. But yeah, it's a struggle, and I just hope things do get better, but I think that they might not, and we just adapt. That's what I'm trying to do, and I think we're all trying to do, to adapt how to survive and continue onward, but we will survive. Failure is not an option. Ever.
That's very true, and I think that's also very telling to how we started this conversation with, each one of you describing you are jefas, and part of that resiliency also comes from our people, where we come from. Those are things that we live day to day knowing, and growing up and seeing those examples of food and the dishes that we grew up eating, and as an adult looking back, being like, wow, that was so simple, or times could have been hard, but I still had abundance. And I think that's part of, we understood love in so many layers. I really want to say thank you to these amazing answers. I'm going to quickly move over to some really cool questions that are happening from the Q&A, but personally, thank you for sharing this, because these are things that we should be talking about, and this is a wonderful platform to talk about. So a quick little segue that kind of talks a little bit about, or at least people are wondering, they would like to know how everyone is dealing with changes to immigrants and how that fight might affect staff or team.
Well, one of the things that I can quickly say is with the raids, we did have them here a little bit in Portland. I think almost 3/4 of the team here is an immigrant. I have a lot of Mexican folks, and which I'm proud of because they do feel like they're safe working here with me. And we're just working together, you know. So one of the biggest things was to keep the doors locked, get everyone a key. That was one of the first things kind of had to do. And just kind of be their their mom. Some of these they have like 19-year-old kids, 23-year-old kiddos, you know, they're young. I'm a little bit older, so that's an important thing. And you know, I'll help take the punches for them. Same for my trans team members, you know, that's what I think we do. Supporting your people, supporting your team, because they do a lot of the work. They keep you alive. They endure the hours. They cook the food that you feel represented by. So I don't know. I think it's scary. And I can't say that I'm not scared about all those things. Just seeing, you know, not just that, but also like the Proud Boys. There's here in Vancouver, we do have those, so you'll see the, you know, the swastikas and bikers. And you know, like when you see those things, you just think like, wow, those people are super ignorant or just really not confident in themselves or just really hateful. But it's also that you just put a guard up, you know, and especially like if I go to like, I don't know, like Beaverton, 20 minutes out, I'm a little bit more hesitant to use restrooms, you know. That whole perception is very different, I think, too. Just a negativity. So if there's like all gender restrooms, it's perfect. But if not, you know, I'll just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna wait till if I'm by the restaurant, I'll pop by the restaurant, or I'll just wait till I'm home. You know, but here in Portland overall, it's good, but you know, you never know. Like even if I go to the IKEA, which is closer to Washington, I'm not gonna go into those restrooms. Like, maybe if I'm messed up. But yeah. Anyways, that's my opinion on that. But yeah, but we
You're fighting the fight, and comfort is what we can do, and rolling with the punches. So thank you for sharing, Luna. Anyone else?
Well, for me, it started with SB 1070. You know, in Arizona, shows your papers law, which is the predecessor to everything we're seeing. And that was the rose-colored, I'm trying to change erroneous perceptions North Americans have of my culture and my food to, hey, what the? Because it was my staff, my core, my people that were living in fear. And I could speak for those who walk in the shadows. So I did, and I haven't stopped. But I have witnessed it since the 90s when I got into this industry professionally. I witnessed it from my father's bakery where you could hear things like, I mean, en la migra, and vámonos, los panaderos running and hide in the walls and their little cubby holes. So it's been part of my life, my entire life, to a point where I had trauma. Coming to my house in Mexico and going back to the States, when I cross the border, I get a very uncomfortable feeling when I had to talk to a border patrol. American born, nothing to fear, yet I felt that. Can you imagine carrying that on your daily life, sitting at a restaurant, not knowing if somebody's going to come in and crush in on you because of the color of your skin? You know, things you cannot hide, the color of your skin. Things you cannot hide, your sexual preference. Some people can. Some people could pass as a white-akin. Some people could pass as straight looking, but some of us cannot. And that is, the truth. And to watch it now at the level that it's happening, it breaks my heart. You were making me uncomfortable, Luna, because what you were saying is what I have felt as la jefa, the person in charge, and I also know that that Mexican food that we're trying to elaborate, if it doesn't come from those hands of these immigrants, it's not good. It's not, so it's a complex situation, and it's not something that's going to work itself out. It's something we as a society, as a community, have to work it out. And as chefs, we have to take responsibility, because we are, whether we like it or not, that representation. All of you guys, you're the representation. I mean, Luna, I applaud you. I love you. Such bravery. And your customers, they're coming in for your food, but they're also coming in to support you and your staff. And know that we have allies. We need more. Like, we need not to make this a subject. The fact that we're queer doesn't matter. It's whether our food and our products and our ice creams are original. It's elaborating from the heart. That's what matters. So unfortunately, right now, I closed out my restaurant. I retired from being a restaurateur to focus on writing and the last part of my life. But honestly, I have sat here and with a heavy breath have said, oh my God, I retired just in the right time. Because I would hate to be a business owner right now in today's political society that we live in.
Yep, it's very true. I hate to be the timekeeper, but I really want to be able to wrap this up in a very beautiful way, because this has been an incredible conversation. Each and every single one of you are sharing very important experiences, because, I was getting watery-eyed because I know what it's like to be at the helm. And I always believe that you can't have authenticity without the people. So I totally understand where each and every single one of you are coming from and what you've shared. So as a quick, I want to give you the opportunity before I hand it off to Vanessa, if each and one of you want to let the people know who are looking at us, where they can follow you, any sources, any plugins you'd want to give quickly before we wrap up, and I send it over to Vanessa. Silvana?
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, okay, since you happen to bring it up, I just released the book, is Best Books of the Southwest 2025, just last month. It's called La Hija de la Chingada, and it chronicles from a Mexican chef. ¿Dónde? En los Estados Unidos. It's in Spanish and English, lahijadechingada.com. Maybe a recipe or two, but honestly, it's about what we're talking about today. It's more important that we have that conversation than I give you recipes.
Thank you, Silvana.
I guess I'm gonna go buy that book today at Powell's. It'll be really powerful to read it. I think I've gotten really emotional. I'm pumped up for the week. So thank you all so much, especially you, Pre, like working with Gigi. Tell him that he is missed here. And I guess just social media is a powerful tool, even if it's like Instagram, and if it's meta powered. I think just following either the restaurant or my personal Instagram, it's always 100% honest. Not gonna mask anything on there, or coming on by to the restaurant here in Northeast Portland. Always have time for conversation, pre or post service. And honestly, all are welcome, and that support our fight. And that's just all I have to say.
Thank you, Luna.
All right, so you can find me at pre.aguilr. I'll also write it in the comment section. And Nueva Yolk, Nueva.Yolk, like egg yolk. And I just wanted to give a special shout out. I mean, especially I didn't get to speak on the immigration thing, but my partner's an immigration lawyer and doing really one of the things that I admire, or like what brought me to food, was street food. And street vendors are the ones being targeted more than anything right now. And they're out there doing that work, making sure they're protected and seen. So I want to give a shout out to my partner who's watching right now.
Thank you, Pri. And I'm sorry, being the timekeeper, this is I guess the sucky part of the job. But again, thank you for each and one of you. I really hope that we were able to, or at least I was able to moderate, I think in a proper way for all these very heavy topics. But I'm going to hand this off to Vanessa Parrish, who is the Executive Director for QFF.
Thank y'all so much for this. Like, this was such an important conversation to have. And I was just digesting everything, taking notes, just really, really grateful for the vulnerability that you all have afforded us today. It is such a privilege to be able to be listeners in these spaces of people that are leaders and activators in our spaces. So thank you so much for your time. It's truly appreciated. On behalf of QFF, please keep us informed. For those that are watching, we're going to be doing our next panel in June. So we'll be doing queer vegan chefs in June. So please come and check those out and support some folks. If you're in the food industry, sign up for our directory. We have another partnership with JBF happening, Equity and Hospitality. So we've got webinars, in-person networking events we've just completed, and we have a whole new toolkit coming out soon as well. So stay engaged, stay in conversation. Please support these amazing people. Everyone here, please support them, follow them, find them, patron them, hire them, all the things. But I hope y'all enjoy your afternoon, and I will send it over to Shamika.
Thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Mario and Vanessa. I just want to mention again, this is being recorded. So if you want to listen back, please go to the Queer Food Foundation website, as well as James Beard website. You can check out our events, both for the industry, the consumer, on our website, but also we have lots of resources for the culinary and hospitality industry. So please visit our website for more information there. Again, thank you for taking your time to share your experiences in your fight. It's a continued fight, but you're doing the work and we appreciate you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.